Imagine walking down a street in Lagos, Nairobi, or Accra, and hearing someone say, "Can you please open the light?" You pause for a second, thinking, wait, isn't it supposed to be turn on the light? But the person smiles and continues speaking in a sweet, melodic tone that sounds oddly familiar, almost like you're in Manila, not Africa. Across schools, call centers, churches, and even TikTok videos, millions of young Africans are now speaking English in a way that sounds strikingly Filipino. But why is this happening? How did the Filipino style of English travel thousands of miles across the ocean to take root in African hearts and tongues? This is not just about words or accents. It's about how people connect, dream, and build opportunities. English has always been a bridge language, a tool for trade, education, and technology. But something new is happening, a cultural exchange that is changing the sound of English across Africa. Filipinos have long been admired for their clear, neutral English accent, especially in international jobs like customer service and online teaching. Now, African youths are studying how Filipinos speak English to sound more global, more friendly, and sometimes more employable. But where did this influence begin? Let's rewind a little. The Philippines has been known for decades as one of the top English-speaking nations in Asia. Millions of Filipinos work overseas, from the United States to the Middle East, and recently, online as English tutors. Many African students started taking online English lessons from Filipino teachers during the pandemic. What started as simple language learning sessions slowly became something deeper, an admiration for how naturally, confidently, and politely Filipinos express themselves in English. The soft tone, the sing-song rhythm, and the warmth in every sentence. It felt easy to listen to, easy to love. Some African learners began to mimic the style during lessons, not to copy, but to communicate better. "Good morning, ma'am. How are you today?" they would say, with that same gentle Filipino lilt. Soon, what started in online classrooms began spreading in everyday life, in music covers, reaction videos, call center training, and even among influencers. Have you noticed this change yourself? Maybe you've heard someone online who sounds both African and Filipino at the same time. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Have you come across someone who speaks English like that? How did it make you feel? The internet has made the world smaller, but it has also made voices travel faster than ever. On platforms like TikTok, short comedy skits and language lessons go viral overnight. Many young Africans post videos saying, "Hi guys. Today we're going to talk about something very interesting." Okay. Words delivered with that cheerful, rising tone that sounds straight out of Cebu or Quezon City. And audiences love it. The comment sections are filled with laughing emojis, heart reactions, and sometimes even friendly debates about whose accent sounds more Filipino. It's fascinating, a new hybrid accent born not from colonial history, but from cultural admiration and global connection. But it's not just about imitation. It's about aspiration. In many African countries, speaking English fluently opens doors to international jobs, customer service, remote assistance, or teaching online. And guess who dominates those industries? The Philippines. So naturally, many young Africans look at Filipinos as models of success in the global English job market. When they hear how politely Filipinos handle calls or how confidently they teach foreign students, they say, "That's how I want to sound." It's not about losing identity. It's about gaining opportunity. Do you think learning someone's accent is a form of respect or imitation? Let me know in the comments. Your opinion might surprise others. In cities like Nairobi and Kampala, training centers are already offering accent neutralization courses inspired by the Filipino way of speaking English. Trainers often play recordings of Filipino call center agents, showing how they stress certain syllables, how they smile while talking, and how their tone never sounds harsh or rushed. "They make English sound kind," one student said. "When I talk like that, people listen more." Isn't it amazing how kindness can be heard, not just seen? If you've ever listened to a Filipino speaker, you'll notice something charming. Their English feels musical, with a balance of emotion and politeness. They don't just speak, they engage. Phrases like "kindly wait for a moment" or "please bear with me" sound so gentle, yet clear. Africans, who are also known for expressive and warm communication, found that style naturally fits their personality too. So, instead of sounding forced, this new blend of African energy and Filipino melody feels authentic and unique. At this point, you might be wondering, is this just an online trend, or is it here to stay? The answer lies in how fast the global job market is changing. More African graduates are working remotely for international clients. They interact daily with Americans, Europeans, and Asians, and they realize that the Filipino accent, calm, clear, and easy to understand, helps them connect better. So they start practicing phrases, tones, and even facial expressions they learned from Filipino YouTubers or teachers. And soon, entire call centers in Africa start adopting training manuals based on the Filipino customer service model. One trainer from Ghana said, "We study how Filipinos handle stress on the phone. They never sound angry. They smile through their voice." That statement tells us something powerful. This isn't just about pronunciation, it's about attitude. Filipinos have mastered the art of making English sound caring, and Africans are adding their own flavor to it. When these two cultures mix, the result is a new voice, global, friendly, and full of warmth. Do you think this blending of accents will create a new African-Filipino English style in the future? Imagine a whole generation speaking English that carries the rhythm of Africa and the melody of the Philippines. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Drop your answer in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Your support helps us bring more amazing stories from around the world. Stories that show how language connects us all. But let's go even deeper. Beyond call centers and TikTok trends, there's something more emotional happening here. Something that touches identity and pride. Some people ask, why should Africans copy another accent, while others say, we're not copying, we're learning from the best. This debate has sparked conversations across YouTube, X, and online forums. Some argue that English should sound African, while others believe that learning from the Filipino way helps Africans compete globally. Who do you agree with? Is language just a tool, or does it shape who we are? Tell me in the comments. Your perspective matters. The story doesn't stop there. In many African classrooms, teachers are now playing videos from Filipino educators because of how clear and engaging they are. Young children in Nigeria and Kenya repeat lines from Filipino cartoon dubs or YouTube lessons. It's not uncommon to hear a 10-year-old say OPO after replying to a teacher, just because they picked it up from a Filipino video. These small habits might seem funny, but they show how globalized our world has become. At the same time, many Filipinos have noticed this trend and express surprise and pride. Online, you'll find comments like, wow, Africans sound like us now, and we love how they appreciate our accent. It's a two-way admiration. Africans admire Filipino communication skills, and Filipinos are amazed at how naturally Africans adapt their tone and rhythm. Language, once a barrier, has now become a bond. Still, there's a question we must ask. Does this trend mean that African English is being replaced, or is it evolving? Linguists say that languages never stay still. They blend, borrow, and reinvent themselves. The African continent already has hundreds of English varieties: Nigerian English, Kenyan English, Ghanaian English, each rich in local expressions. Now, with Filipino influence entering the mix, a new layer of global identity is forming. But what happens when identity meets imitation? When inspiration becomes transformation? The answer might surprise you, because this story is about more than just accents. It's about how cultures learn to speak to the world and to each other. When cultures begin to speak to each other, something magical happens. Barriers fade, and a new shared voice is born. Across Africa, young people are not just learning English to pass exams anymore. They're learning how to express confidence, friendliness, and connection. And who better to learn that from than the Filipinos, who've turned English into an art of warmth and approachability. What's fascinating is how naturally this new blend fits into African life. The continent is already known for its musical tones, expressive emotions, and storytelling. Add to that the gentle rhythm of Filipino English, and you get a sound that feels universal, easy to understand, yet full of soul. In call centers from Nairobi to Johannesburg, you'll now find trainers using videos from Manila as examples. Listen to how they greet customers. They say, notice the calm tone, the smile in their words. Trainees practice repeating phrases like, I completely understand your concern, sir. Or may I know your full name, please? And with each repetition, something interesting happens. The African voice doesn't disappear. It becomes more refined, more global. A Ghanaian or Ugandan speaker might still have their local musicality, but with the gentle precision that the Filipino style brings. It's not copying, it's evolution. Some language experts believe this is a historic shift, the rise of a Southern English. For decades, the world looked to British or American English as the standard. But now, millions are realizing that English belongs to everyone who speaks it. The Filipino influence in Africa is proof that global English no longer has a single center. Instead, it's shaped by people who use it daily to teach, serve, and connect. Doesn't it make you wonder, who truly owns English now? Is it the native speakers, or the millions who use it to reach across borders every day? Tell me what you think in the comments. This question always sparks amazing debates. What's even more inspiring is how this cultural exchange is changing perceptions. For years, African and Asian English accents were unfairly judged in international spaces. Some employers preferred Western accents. But now, thanks to the growing success of Filipino and African professionals, that mindset is shifting. Companies have realized that clarity, kindness, and empathy matter far more than sounding Western. In fact, many clients prefer Filipino-trained or African-trained customer service teams because of their natural politeness and patience. Together, these regions are redefining what good English means. It's no longer about sounding like London or Los Angeles. It's about being understood and respected. If you've ever spoken to a Filipino customer service agent or watched an African TikToker using that same melodic tone, you'll notice one thing in common. They make English feel human. They don't just talk at you, they talk with you. That's the secret behind their growing popularity. And as more Africans adapt this approach, they're not losing their roots. They're expanding their reach. Isn't that what communication is really about? Building bridges, not walls? Let's take a look at a real-life example. In Kenya, a young woman named Wanjiru started working online as an English tutor. At first, her students struggled to understand her strong local accent. One day, she stumbled upon a Filipino YouTube teacher and started mimicking her tone, slower, softer, and more musical. Within weeks, her students began complimenting her clarity. Her bookings tripled. She said, I didn't change who I was. I just changed how I spoke. Her story is now inspiring thousands of others to do the same. Across the continent, people are realizing that sounding approachable can change their income, their confidence, and even their worldview. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, call centers in cities like Ibadan and Enugu are quietly building teams that sound remarkably similar to those in the Philippines. They're following the same training modules, using the same customer service phrases, and even learning how to smile through the voice, as Filipino trainers say. That smile, invisible but powerful, is transforming how the world hears Africa. Can you imagine a world where African and Filipino voices dominate global communication? It's already happening, one conversation at a time. But the story goes deeper. Behind every accent, there's a feeling, a sense of identity. Some young Africans say adopting the Filipino style makes them feel more confident, more professional, even more hopeful. Others fear that they might lose the uniqueness of African English. The truth lies somewhere in between. Language is not about replacing one sound with another. It's about expanding how we connect. Just as Filipinos once embraced English and made it their own, Africans are now doing the same, adding their rhythm, humor, and emotional energy. The result is something beautiful, a voice that feels familiar yet fresh, foreign yet local. Have you ever tried changing your accent or speech style for a job or opportunity? How did it feel? Empowering or uncomfortable? Drop your answer below. It's something many people can relate to, especially in this digital age where your voice can reach anyone, anywhere. Interestingly, This influence is not just one way. As Africans learn from Filipinos, many Filipinos are now discovering African content too. From Afrobeat music to African YouTubers and streamers, Filipino audiences are becoming fans. You'll often see comments like, "Wow, I love how Africans speak English, so full of life." So, while Africans are inspired by Filipino clarity, Filipinos are drawn to African expression. This mutual admiration shows that language is more than communication, it's collaboration. Think about this. In a world divided by borders, what happens when two cultures on opposite sides of the planet start speaking in harmony? It's not just about sounding alike. It's about seeing each other as equals in the global conversation. That's what's unfolding right now between Africa and the Philippines, a silent revolution carried by voices, one syllable at a time. And as this new wave spreads, the media is catching on. Filipino influencers are reacting to African videos with joy, and African creators are giving shout-outs to Filipino tutors who help them find their confidence. It's wholesome, it's funny, and it's real. These small exchanges are reshaping how young people view globalization, not as domination, but as connection. What's your take? Is globalization destroying local identity, or helping people find a shared global culture? Your thoughts might surprise others, so drop them in the comments. If you're still watching, that means this topic connects with you. Maybe because you've noticed it too. So before we go further, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Your support helps more people discover fascinating stories like this one. Stories about how small changes, even in how we speak, can change the world. Now let's look at how this transformation is influencing education. In universities across East and West Africa, English departments are studying Filipino teaching methods. Professors are analyzing how Filipino teachers simplify grammar explanations and make students feel at ease. Some schools have even invited Filipino educators to train African teachers online. The reason? Filipinos have perfected the balance between friendliness and structure, and African educators, known for their passion and creativity, are merging that with their own classroom energy. The result, a new generation of teachers who make English not just a subject, but a skill for global citizenship. And it doesn't stop in classrooms. African content creators on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram are consciously blending Filipino intonation into their videos because they've noticed it keeps international audiences hooked longer. The tone feels soft, welcoming, and professional. It's the kind of voice people love listening to for hours. From makeup tutorials to travel vlogs, you can now hear this influence everywhere. In fact, some creators joke, "I'm speaking in my Filipino English voice today." What started as a trend has become a language style, a symbol of global openness. There's also a psychological side to it. Studies show that when we imitate accents, we unconsciously mirror emotions too. Filipinos are known for empathy, and their speech reflects that. When African speakers adopt similar tones, they also start communicating with more patience and understanding. That's why customers often describe them as easy to talk to or comforting. It's not just words, it's emotional rhythm. That emotional exchange is what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about learning how to sound Filipino, but learning how to connect like one. Still, the question remains, how long before this trend becomes a permanent part of Africa's English identity? Some linguists predict that in the next decade, we'll see a distinct new accent emerging. A mix of African pronunciation, Filipino melody, and global vocabulary. It might be called Afri-Pino English someday, a blend that celebrates two worlds coming together through voice. Would you like to hear how that might sound in real life? Imagine someone greeting you with, "Good morning, my dear. How are you today?" said with African rhythm but Filipino charm. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? And perhaps that's the real beauty of this story. It shows that language is alive. It evolves, it travels, and it unites. From the bustling streets of Manila to the busy markets of Lagos, English is no longer just a language of power. It's a language of people. People who dream, laugh, hustle, and care. And when Africans and Filipinos share that language, they're not copying, they're harmonizing. So, next time you hear an African speaking English with a gentle Filipino twist, don't think of it as imitation. Think of it as collaboration. Two cultures shaping the sound of tomorrow. And maybe, just maybe, that's what the future of communication looks like. Not British, not American, but beautifully blended, filled with heart. As we wrap up this journey, ask yourself, what does your voice say about where you come from and where you're going? Do you think the way we speak can bring people closer? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think. And if this story opened your eyes to how the world is changing through sound, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves learning about people and culture. Because the more we understand each other's voices, the more connected we all become. But here's something that might surprise you. The next chapter in this story isn't just about accents anymore. It's about how this shared voice is starting to shape business, entertainment, and even national identity. Wait until you hear how this global blend is giving rise to a new kind of pride, one that crosses oceans. Across Africa, the sound of English is changing, not through colonization or imitation, but through connection. In business parks, classrooms, and online studios, people are realizing that how you speak can shape how the world sees you. And what's happening right now is extraordinary. Africans are taking inspiration from the Filipino way of speaking English and making it their own, confident, warm, and deeply human. But here's the twist. This isn't just influencing individuals. It's changing entire industries. Let's take the world of outsourcing and virtual work. For decades, the Philippines led the global business process outsourcing industry, employing millions of people in call centers and remote customer support. Companies loved hiring Filipinos because of their clear English and empathetic communication. But now Africa is becoming the next big hub. From Ghana to Rwanda, new call centers are opening every month. And when global clients hear these African voices, smooth, polite, and calm, they often say, "You sound just like our Filipino team." That's when trainers proudly smile and say, "Yes, we learned from the best." In many ways, this is not just a story about language. It's about opportunity. Every new accent learned, every tone practiced, every word softened opens a door to a new job, a new friendship, or a new chance to be understood. It's about Africans taking control of how they present themselves to the world, using the Filipino model as a ladder, not a mirror. They're not pretending to be someone else. They're perfecting their own sound, inspired by a style that works. And this evolution goes beyond business. African entertainers and YouTubers are noticing that when they adopt the warm Filipino rhythm in their videos, audiences stay longer. The reason is simple. It feels good to listen to. Whether it's a food vlogger from Accra or a motivational speaker from Nairobi, many are adding that gentle, rising intonation that Filipinos are known for. It makes their content sound friendlier, more engaging, and more international. Have you ever found yourself watching a video longer just because the person's voice sounded comforting? Tell me in the comments. It happens more often than we realize. One Tanzanian comedian shared that he started using a Filipino-inspired accent in his skits and suddenly gained fans from Southeast Asia. They said they felt like I was one of them, he laughed. But I'm just me, an African with a Filipino heart. That's the spirit behind this movement. It's not about changing identity. It's about expanding it. When two cultures find harmony in speech, they find friendship in understanding. The younger generation is leading this wave. Teenagers in Kenya or South Africa are learning English pronunciation from Filipino YouTubers rather than British textbooks. They mimic how Filipino teachers smile while speaking, how they emphasize kindness, and how they use respectful words like ma'am and sir. This new approach to speaking isn't stiff or formal. It's natural, polite, and emotionally intelligent. Teachers say it's helping students express themselves better, not just in English, but in life. Isn't it amazing how a simple tone can boost confidence? But not everyone agrees on whether this trend is good. Some worry that copying another country's accent means losing local flavor. They say, why not let African English sound African? That's a fair question, and an important one. Yet, others argue that language has always been a living, breathing thing. Just as Africans adapted English centuries ago to fit their realities, now they're adapting it again to fit their global dreams. Maybe the real question isn't whether accents should change, but whether people should have the freedom to shape how they communicate with the world. What do you think? Should accents stay true to their roots or evolve with the times? Share your thoughts below. I'm curious how you see it. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You never know who might find inspiration in it, someone learning English, building their career, or simply trying to find their voice. Let's spread stories that show how language can unite us, not divide us. Now let's talk about pride. In the Philippines, English is not just a second language. It's a symbol of resilience and adaptability. Filipinos took a colonial language and turned it into a national strength. They added their warmth, humor, and humility, transforming English into something uniquely Filipino. Today, Africans are doing something similar. They're taking inspiration from that story, not to copy, but to claim their own global space. In both regions, language became a tool of empowerment. It's a reminder that identity isn't what we inherit, it's what we create. In fact, some African linguists are already predicting that in a few years, the African English accent will become one of the world's most recognized voices, friendly, rhythmic, and easy to understand. The Filipino influence will be there, but so will the heartbeat of Africa. Together, they might just redefine what the future of English sounds like. And who knows, maybe in another decade, people from Europe or America will start practicing African Filipino English because it's clear, polite, and musical. Wouldn't that be something? You can already hear the beginnings of this change in songs, podcasts, and even advertisements. Commercials in East Africa now feature smoother English tones, modeled after Filipino voiceovers. Online teachers from Nigeria and Kenya are praised by their Asian students for sounding neutral and nice. The blending is happening in real time, and with every new video, every new conversation, the world is getting used to this fresh global sound. And there's a deeper layer to this. When Africans embrace the Filipino way of speaking English, they're also embracing a mindset, a belief in patience, hospitality, and respect. These are values both cultures share. The Filipino pa and opo, words of respect, may not exist in African languages, but the feeling behind them does. In both cultures, elders are honored, politeness is prized, and conversations are about connection, not competition. Maybe that's why this exchange feels so natural, because it's built on shared humanity. Have you noticed that some voices just make you feel calm, even if you don't fully understand what they're saying? That's what this trend captures. It's not just about learning a way of speaking, it's about learning a way of feeling. The tone becomes a bridge between hearts. And maybe that's why millions are drawn to it, because deep down, we all crave to be understood gently. But here's the part that gives this story its true power. This isn't driven by governments, schools, or big organizations. It's driven by ordinary people. Young Africans and Filipinos sitting in their rooms, recording videos, talking to strangers across the world, teaching each other how to speak with warmth. No one planned this. It simply happened. A quiet revolution powered by connection. The kind of revolution that doesn't make headlines, but changes lives every day. So, what can we learn from this? Maybe that the future of communication won't be defined by who has the strongest grammar or the thickest accent. It'll be defined by who can make others feel seen and heard. The Filipino way of speaking English taught the world that kindness can be spoken. The African response is proving that kindness can echo back, stronger, louder, and beautifully blended. Now imagine a future where someone in Lagos, Manila, or Cape Town picks up the phone, and you can't quite tell where they're from, because they sound global yet warm, professional yet personal. That's the sound of tomorrow, a sound born from mutual respect and shared inspiration. And as you think about that, let me leave you with this question. If language has the power to connect continents, what else could we achieve if we truly listen to each other? Drop your answer in the comments, because maybe the next great idea starts with a conversation like this one. Thank you for watching this far. If this story made you smile, think, or see the world a little differently, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves culture and stories. The more we share, the more we connect. Because, at the end of the day, language isn't just about speaking. It's about understanding. And when millions across Africa and the Philippines begin to speak in harmony, the world becomes just a little bit smaller and a whole lot kinder.